My name is Kim Kenville. I'm a professor of aviation at the University of North Dakota. This past year, I've been on sabbatical and created a series of videos for airport board members. Video 3 will focus on the airport and the budget and interaction with local, state, and federal partners. Consultant selection and project management will also be addressed. Likely, one of the foremost elements for a successful board member is to grasp the organization's financial standing. While most people can read generalized financial statements, operating a public airport in the United States has unique attributes that are learned over time. This project is being undertaken as a professional development endeavor on behalf of the University of North Dakota in conjunction with the North Dakota Aeronautics Commission. Therefore, many examples used throughout this training may be specifically directed to airport board members in North Dakota. This presentation is not legally binding and offers only advice for airport board members. In this video, we're going to talk about airport finance, specifically budgets, both operating and capital. We're going to talk about outside audit requirements, capital funding sources, grant assurances, and consultant selection and project management. Airport finance. The airport budgets, operating and maintenance, O&M, are regular, reoccurring revenue and expenses tied to the general operation of the airport. Capital budgets are generally derived for projects included in the Capital Improvement Program, CIP, and are large expenditures relating to a specific improvement or construction project at the airport. Airports are often a department of city or county government or act as a standalone authority. As such, the revenues and expenses should be handled using an enterprise fund. The airport's revenue and expenses are divided up in between operating and non-operating categories. Operating are further divided into aeronautical and non-aeronautical. The aeronautical revenues and expenses are those tied to aircraft, which could be landing fees, fuel flowage fees, ramp or tie-down fees. The non-aeronautical is ancillary to the operation of the airplane, which could be food and beverage, concessions, vehicle parking, or terminal rents. Conversely, non-operating revenues and expenses are more one-time inflows and outflows of money. Those could be tax revenue, grant revenue, both state and federal, passenger facility charges, or interest income or interest expense. Impacts to the budget. Often an important part of airport budgeting is the ability to achieve a positive balance between the revenues and expenses. Up-to-date leases and contracts with updated rates and charges are imperative. Often entities do not want to have the hassle of revisiting leases with their tenants, but the FAA recommends that all federally obligated airports be financially self-sustaining. This is achieved through the periodic escalation of rates and charges throughout leases. The FAA also encourages airports to review fair market value and adjust their rates, charges, and leases accordingly. Grant Assurance 13 and Federal Regulation 49 CFR Part 18.26 establish the requirement for the non-federal and accounting agency audit. Sponsors that expend $750,000 of federal funds in a fiscal year must conduct a single or program-specific audit that year that conforms with the Single Audit Act of 1984 and the standards of OMB Circular 133, audits of states, local governments, and nonprofit organizations. The $750,000 threshold represents all federal funding sources, not just AIP or Airport Improvement Program funds. For sponsors that expend less than $750,000 of federal funds in a year, the audit requirement shall be those prescribed by local and state regulation. The sponsor's independent audit must conduct the audit in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards and OMB Circular A-133. The sponsor must keep a copy of the audit report on file for 3 years from the date of issuance. Airport Improvement Program, or AIP grants, are a type of money given to an organization that do not require payback. In most instances, these funds are awarded competitively. The FAA awards funds collected through various aviation activities through the Aviation Trust Fund established in 1970. FAA Airport Improvement Program, or AIP funds, will come in the form of entitlement, discretionary, set aside, or cargo apportionment grants. The FAA is authorized to expend a portion of the Aviation Trust Fund each year by Congress, which is known as FAA authorization or reauthorization. Entitlement funds are derived from the Aviation Trust Fund, and airports within the NIPIUS are entitled to a yearly sum based on passenger enplanement formula or a flat rate in the case of general aviation airports. Discretionary funds are any entitlement funds that are turned back and are redistributed based on a project priority rating system by the FAA. When an airport accepts an AIP grant, certain assurances come along with the free money. These are promises the airport or sponsor makes to the FAA and the U.S. Congress. Most are easily followed and follow the law of the land. However, there are some aviation nuanced rules for airports, such as no revenue diversion, non-discrimination of airport tenants, the airport will set rates, fees, and charges, the airport will operate in a safe and serviceable condition, and allow the military to use the airport, and the airport will follow all FAA standards. State grants are awarded to airports through state aviation and aeronautics divisions. They award funds to airports within their states, usually in a similar fashion as the FAA. State funds are awarded to both NIPIUS and non-NIPIUS airports within the state. Other funding sources for airports can come in the form of passenger facility charge or PFCs. These are fees attached to airline tickets and remitted back to the local airport. Another source of funds could be customer facility charges or CFCs, a charge usually tied to a service at a local airport attached to the use of an area and are used to retire debt used to build the certain facility. We see these often as rental car or ground transportation facilities. Bonds. Airports can issue general obligation, revenue, or special facility bonds. The fourth type of funds could be airport revenue funds. These funds can be used for any type of costs incurred by the airport. The responsibility of the airport is to ensure qualified technical resources are used for architectural, engineering, and planning projects. Costs for these services are allowable under the AIP program and most state programs. The consultants are selected via qualifications based with fees negotiated after the selection. Typical selection is for a performance or study period or 5 years. North Dakota General Aviation Airports will be assisted by the North Dakota Aeronautics Commission by preparing selection documents and disseminating public notices on their behalf, as well as providing guidance to ensure the selections are conducted in a fair and timely manner. What should you look for? An effective airport consultant should have the skills and knowledge to help an airport's operation run smoothly and efficiently. When selecting an airport consultant, it's essential to consider several factors. They include 1, the consultant's experience and qualifications, 2, their understanding of the airport's specific needs, and 3, their ability to provide comprehensive services. This is usually done through an RFP process, which means request for proposal. Contractors are normally selected through open advertisements in accordance with local and/or state law, and generally seek the lowest responsible and responsive or qualified bid. In summary, airport accounting and finance is specialized and needs to comply with FAA guidelines. Budgets include both operating and capital. Annual audits are required under the Office of Management and Budget. Grants are an important part of capital improvements and come with compliance requirements through the grant assurances. Other sources of airport revenue can include PFCs, CFCs, bonds, and airport reserve funds. Consultant selection is required of NIPIUS airports every 5 years, which includes engineering, architecture, planning, and environmental. Project management and bidding are controlled by state law. Best practices. Board members normally have outside employment and professional associations while serving as members of the airport board. Therefore, an up-to-date reference document is essential. The current board chair or airport executive should build a binder, either paper or electronic, that is kept up to date for airport advisory or authority board members for ongoing reference. Airports are unique. If you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. In all aspects of governance, finances, and operations. The list of documents, although not exhaustive, should be readily available to all board members, whether new or seasoned. It includes the airport's name, classification, history, airfield maps, layouts, the guiding documents, state laws, bylaws, resolutions, policies, procedures, reference to open meeting laws, the calendar, members' bio and contact information, FAA acronyms, NIPIAS classifications, any previous status or grant awards, information for state programs, strategic plan, a current capital improvement plan for the airport, its budget, a list of tenants, lists of consultants or service providers to the airports, a public relations toolkit, and how to generally respond to inquiries. Past agenda and minutes can also be included, so each airport advisory or authority board member should set aside time to annually review board responsibilities, the airport strategic plan, its master plan, and goals to allow new members to acclimate. It may be a good idea to assign seasoned board members to new board members, almost board buddies, to facilitate a greater understanding of the airport and the board's overall responsibilities to the public. I appreciate your attentiveness in watching these videos. I hope these resources serve as a resource to you and your board, and may you always have great board meetings. You make it a great day.